Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy is sponsored by Thomson Reuters, providing legal professionals with the intelligence, technology, and human expertise they need to find trusted answers. Products include Westlaw, Practical Law, and Firm Central legal practice management software for small law firms. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. Online at thomsonreuters.com. Access to Democracy is made possible in part by a donation from Firefly Credit Union. Firefly is the new name of U.S. Federal Credit Union, which has proudly served the financial needs of the Greater Twin Cities community since 1925. At Firefly, we guide our members forward and give them the power to chase dreams by delivering the financial solutions they need to get ahead. From checking accounts to mortgages, we'll light the way. We are Firefly Credit Union, and this is Life Illuminated. And Dr. Charles Crutchfield of award-winning Crutchfield Dermatology in Eagan, acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. A Minnesota native who trained at the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Crutchfield personally treats all patients and states that experience counts and quality matters. Crutchfield Dermatology. Look good, feel great, with beautiful skin.
Welcome to Access to Democracy. I'm Patrick Klinger, filling in for the venerable Alan Miller today. I've had the privilege of being a guest on Access to Democracy many times. Today I have the privilege of hosting. When Alan asked me to be the guest host, he said, you can also pick your guest. And immediately the gentleman who came to mind is the gentleman who's sitting to my left. He's a business executive, he's a community leader, public servant, a family man, a dear friend, and also a bit of a local St. Paul legend. His name is Pat Harris. Pat, welcome to Access to Democracy.
I'm honored to be here, Patrick.
Fantastic. So, Mr. Harris, for those who haven't had a chance to meet you, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, there is a lot to talk about, and again, I'm very excited to be here. You know, I'm just a guy who lives in St. Paul. You know, I grew up in St. Paul. I love St. Paul. I love our community. And throughout my life, I've just decided that you know, I wanted to take a real active role in what was happening in my community. And I've done that in many different ways. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, I'm a family person. My wife Laura and I have 4 kids in the Highland area of St. Paul. You know, went to school in St. Paul. Actually work at BMO Harris Bank, 5 blocks from my house in St. Paul. So you know, I'm just one of these people that takes great passion in what I do, both professionally and in the nonprofit world. I spent a lot of time working in St. Paul. I was a city council member in St. Paul for 12 years, representing Ward 3, and doing a lot of great things, I think, citywide. I'm involved with many nonprofits right now. You know, it's been pretty busy, actually. I still serve on the Metropolitan Airports Commission and enjoy working on that board, along with a lot of different things like Visit St. Paul or the Friends of St. Paul Public Library or Como Zoo, or any other number of things that my wife and I together, you know, really try to do to keep our city a great place and keep it a great place for my kids. You know, I'm 50 years old and I got real little kids. You know, I got 9, 7, 6, 5, and 4, and they're fun to be around. They're active in the neighborhood, playing Little League and all those things. And you know, we just, you know, it was ingrained in me by my mom and dad, my grandparents. You know, that you're going to live in a community, you better try to make it better in some capacity. You better be engaged in it. And my whole family has been that way. To my brothers, my brother Dan, my brother Mike, and my brother Mike served on the city council in St. Paul before me, and all my great cousins. You know, they're out there doing just fun stuff. You know, we do things, as you know, the Shannon Open for cystic fibrosis golf tournament, and we're a fun family. We like to have fun when we do things, and we like to make a difference. So I've been happy to be part of the city.
As a resident of downtown St. Paul, I know how active you are in the community, and for that I appreciate that. Now, you mentioned your position at BMO Harris. You're the Senior Vice President of Government Banking. Yeah, that sounds like a big job. Tell us a little bit about what that entails.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, it's been fun. I've been in the financial industry for almost 17, 18 years, I think now. I was at our RBC before. I worked for Lou Nanny, which was real fun. Lou's an amazing guy, does amazing things for our community. But I'm at BMO Harris Bank now doing government banking, and I basically work with municipalities, you know, all over the metro area, school districts and counties, to try to help them with whatever banking needs they might have, whether it's helping on a Saints stadium, helping finance something, or street reconstruction, or leasing iPads for schools, or whatever it is. I have a great organization, and we really just take pride in what we do, and I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
So you've been on the Metropolitan Airports Commission for a while now. Now, there are a lot of improvements coming to the airport. Tell us a little bit about some of those things that we can expect to see taking place out there.
There's so much happening at the airport. It's really unbelievable. I'm honored to be on the Airport Commission with Rick King. You know, we're in the Thomson Reuters studio right now, and Rick is a great partner for our community. There's so much happening at the airport. Air traffic is continuing. Passenger loads are going up each year, and we're trying to respond to that by, you know, we got a brand new parking ramp going up in there. We got a brand new hotel going in that'll be done hopefully before the Super Bowl. Lots of runway reconstruction, and we're completely, one of the biggest projects I've been a part of in my history actually is, you know, we're redoing all the concessions except for the G concourse over the next couple of years. We've just gone through one round, and we're going through another round, and I'm very excited to bring local restaurants and local people and local disadvantaged business enterprises at a much higher level into our airport, and really be reflective of what our community is. It's been very challenging, very fun, and I say, people ask me what's happening at the airport, and I said probably over the next 5 or 6 years we're going to build 2 football stadiums, because we've got about $2 billion worth of capital activity going on at the airport, and hopefully to drive what really is an enormous economic engine for the state of Minnesota. Makes an enormous difference for our community to have that kind of air access to the world, and great partners in Delta and a lot of the other people that are there that help Minnesotans and businesses and people to access the world. And that's a testament to how great the state of Minnesota is and how vibrant it is.
Yeah. Well, as I walk through the airport now, it's hard to tell whether it's an airport or a shopping center.
That's
sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
It's changing pretty dramatically. Are we able to get people through a little bit more quickly? The issue with the TSA being abated a bit?
It has been challenging. You know, we had just redone that whole area, and TSA had some staffing issues. You know, there's more people coming through the airport, and staffing has been the same or even down for TSA, and we've got a great congressional legislative delegation. Senator Klobuchar has been absolutely extraordinary in pressuring the TSA and making sure that they know that this airport, we need to get people through those lines. And so it's definitely it's a TSA issue on staffing. We think we've built them a nice structure to be a part of, and I can't thank Senator Klobuchar enough for really being a voice to try to make a difference there. And other airports across America are seeing the same thing, if not worse. I think we're lucky that we were able to build this new structure so that at least we have this going, and hopefully that TSA will continue to ramp up and make it better for the traveler.
Fantastic. I know you're so active in the community. It seems that every gala or nonprofit event that I attend, I turn around and there's Pat Harris. Where do you think that drive to be involved in the community really has come from?
You know, I thank you for that. I mean, I just am passionate, and Laura and I and our family just passionate about things that happen in the community. We're a huge part of the library in St. Paul and the zoo. Last night was the Como Zoo Gala, which was really phenomenal. And we went to that, and just like I said, it goes back to my grandparents. I care about the town, and Komozu doesn't just make a difference for my kids. Library doesn't just make a difference for my kids. I mean, those places make a difference for an entire community, and we want our community, every neighborhood in St. Paul, and not just in St. Paul either. I mean, every neighborhood in Egan. We want every neighborhood in all our communities to be vibrant, and I think it's just part of personal responsibility. If you can make a difference, you should be making a difference.
Let's talk a little bit about a nonprofit that's very near and dear to both of our hearts, Serving Our Troops. This is an organization you started in 2004. It's done some absolutely remarkable things. But it's got a great backstory as well. If you would, tell us a little bit about how Serving Our Troops came to be and really what it is, what it does.
I appreciate that, Patrick, and let me start by just thanking you. I mean, you've been a great part of Serving Our Troops. We have a great team at Serving Our Troops, and everybody does something important, and everybody makes a difference. So I can just, now we're out in public on TV, I want to publicly thank you for making a difference for soldiers and families. You truly have, and I appreciate that. And Serving Our Troops, I tell the story of Mancini's all the time, but Serving Our Troops, actually, my thought process on it goes way back to when I was in college, and I took a literature class on the Vietnam War. Some great books, Going After Cacciato by Minnesota author Timothy O'Brien, National Book Award winner. And I took this great class, and I emerged from that class as a senior at Marquette University, or whatever year I was, and I said, you know what, under my watch, we are never going to treat our soldiers and their families poorly. It can't happen. And it definitely can't happen in St. Paul, because that's what St. Paul is all about, looking out for each other. And my life went on like normal, but I had this thing ingrained in me so hard that I wouldn't allow it to happen if I could, if I could make a difference. And things were happening in our country, in Iraq, and one night after a St. Paul City Council meeting, John Marshall and I and a few other people were at Mancini's. As is the great St. Paul tradition, we're having an ice-cold Grain Belt beer from the great Shell's Brewery in New Ulm, and we're having a fantastic steak at Mancini's, and the night wears on, and I said, you know what, we've got soldiers in Iraq, and we have soldiers in harm's way, and they can't be at Mancini's and have a steak and a cold beer. Let's get some people together in this town, and let's get them a steak. I failed on the beer part, and you can't have beer overseas. You can have it at home, but let's get them a steak. And the next morning, I ran into some people from then U.S. Senator Norm Coleman's office, and said, it was Susan Kimberly, and I said, hey, I got this idea. She says, let's have a meeting. And I proceeded to have a meeting with Denny Shields from the Minnesota National Guard. And I said, we're going to go to Iraq. We're going to bring steaks to soldiers in Iraq. And he says, let's just wait a second. Minnesota National Guard has soldiers in Kosovo. If I think you can pull this off, we'll let you go. And I'm like, I felt such a challenge, and I felt so honored that the National Guard was going to give us this opportunity. In the summer of 2004, 16 of us, we raised money. We purchased our steaks. We always raise funds, and we buy the steaks. The same steak that you would have if you were at Mancini's. It's that same top sirloin there. And we brought 2,500 steaks to Kosovo. We had an Irish band called Paddy Wagon. We had St. Paul police officers. We had St. Paul firefighters. We had Mancini's, Casetas, O'Gara's, my great favorite place, Skinner's Pub. We've since have the Colossal Cafe, and the Canadian Honker in Rochester, and the Nook and Tiffany's, and all these great places, that have been part of it. But that one summer we did 2,500 steaks for Minnesota National Guard members and other soldiers that were there. And then we had all their families at the XL Energy Center, and they were having a meal as well. We live video linked it all, and it was dinner with the family. So that's how Serving Our Troops was born. And we came out of that project, and we're like, hey, we raised some money, we got a website, we kind of did something here. And we're all volunteers. Everybody's a volunteer. Let's keep it going. And we have an amazing National Guard in this state, and they allowed us to proceed forward. And we have now done, I believe it is 12 projects. We've served just shy of 90,000 stakes. It is, the goals are the same as it was in the very beginning, Patrick. A great steak, you know. So I've been in Iraq watching Pete Skinner and John Mancini, you know, Dan O'Gara, you know, pulling steaks off the grill, and the soldiers are sitting there, and you've done it too, because you were in Kuwait with us, you know, soldiers eating a medium rare steak, you know, in Iraq, steaks that we brought, and then their families are back at home at the exact same time, having the same steak at the St. Paul River Center. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, you know, having had the opportunity to go to Kuwait, I can speak firsthand to it. It's, you know, I was in Kuwait for 3 days, 4 days. It felt like 4 months, because it's not a very, if Kuwait's on your vacation destination list, I suggest taking it off, because it's not exactly a place you want to spend a lot of time. But it gave me a great sense of appreciation for really what the soldiers who are stationed over there for a year go through. And one of my favorite memories of that trip was the night before we served our steaks. The Army had served steaks to the soldiers, but they boiled them.
Right. It's hardly a steak.
It was hard to tell really what it was.
That's right.
And but it was a fantastic experience, and I really applaud you for what you've been able to accomplish. And the logistics of being able to get steaks into a war zone have just got to be mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is. The first time we did it, and each time thereafter, actually, it's been extraordinarily complicated. Our deal with the military is, we'll get the meat there, we'll get ourselves there. You just open the door, let us in, and we'll cook. And I've held true to that. And so we have to, you know, we raise a lot of money from great corporate partners, Thomson Reuters being one of them, and some great people out there. And you know, we use a professional shipper, and so they start in St. Paul. They go down to Chicago, they go overseas to wherever, Vienna, Austria, I think sometimes, or Istanbul. They get re-iced and iced again and inspected, and then they end up in Kuwait. And we have our great partner, Todd Hurley, who's the finance director of the city of St. Paul, and Zach Ryan's done it, Lou Suarez has done it, and these guys go to Kuwait, and they kind of pull it out of hock, if you will, you know, and get it to a warehouse and then deliver it. It's very expensive, very complicated, but we're batting 1,000 on steaks getting there in good shape, and still frozen solid, and still you know, ready to be cooked by, you know, people like Stephanie Shimp and Cassetta and all these folks that are there. It's really it's been an honor to be a part of. But you know what it is, though, Patrick, is that it's this message from St. Paul and all the other communities now around it. It's not political, and it's not a statement about anything. It's just to the soldiers and families that say, you know, through this great steak, you know, we're thinking about you. You know, we know you're there. I was just in Kuwait about a month and a half ago, 124 degrees. Minnesotans are there in full uniform, working every day. It's a tough place to be. But the reason we go there is we want them to know that everybody else here in Minnesota, we're still thinking about you. And it's the steak is our message. Cassetta always says, you know, be careful, we're not the celebrities. The meat is the celebrity. I'm like, we got that right. You know, so.
And you just returned from Croatia.
Correct.
Did you not?
Yeah.
Within the last couple of weeks, where you went with Governor Dayton,
Correct.
who also was involved in serving steaks.
Absolutely. All of our great elected officials, from, you know, ones that aren't in office anymore, to people like Amy Klobuchar and Governor Dayton, they've been phenomenal. They get in line, they serve, they cook. Governor Dayton, when he was a U.S. Senator, was cooking for us in Camp Shelby, Mississippi, and he was cooking for us in Croatia. He was cooking for us at Fort McCoy in Wisconsin for 6,500, and he's a great partner. It was a great trip. You know, the National Guard does some international exchanges, and they show other countries about how communities support the military, and we get to be a part of that on occasion to show how we support the military through these steaks. And so, Governor's pretty good on the grill. You know, he knows how to cook a steak. So, we're very happy to have his support and the support really of our whole delegation.
Fantastic. Any trips coming up in the near future?
You know, nothing too much happening in the near future. We track Minnesota National Guard deployments, and there's some smaller ones. There's some challenging ones that we won't be able to be a part of. But we stand ready. You know, Colonel Kevin Olson of the National Guard, our great friend, you know, he knows that our group, and General Nash knows that our group, that you know, we stand ready. You know, we're always raising money, we're always getting ready, because we know there'll be something for us to do. The message needs to be out there, and like I said, it goes all the way back, Patrick, to my days in college, where, and I have Vietnam veterans come up to us quite a bit and say, you know, I'm giving you money, I want to help, because when I came back from Vietnam, I didn't have anything like this. And it just goes all the way back to that class I took in college, and I think what, not what I've accomplished, but what we as a team in St. Paul have accomplished, and what you've accomplished, Patrick, I can be safe to say that we've made a difference, and we're going to continue to do that if we can.
Fantastic. And Pat, you've been very active in St. Paul politics over the years.
Yeah.
You're involved in a lot of different activities in the city. St. Paul's changing. You know, I live in downtown, and I see what's happening with all the new development going on. And of course, there's the talk, there's belief that a soccer stadium will be built in St. Paul. Obviously, CHS Field opened up a couple of seasons ago. And just yesterday, it was announced that the Minnesota Lynx will be playing their 2017 season at the XL Energy Center while Target Center is being rehabbed. Give us your thoughts on what's happening in St. Paul right now, and why there's the development that's currently underway.
Well, I appreciate all those things. You know, things are happening in St. Paul. The city's doing a great job. Great things that are keeping the city vibrant, you know, are happening. CHS Field has been really extraordinary. I mean, it's a great place to watch baseball. It's a great place to be. It's helping Lower Town and the downtown area really move forward. The soccer stadium is going to be a really amazing thing, not just for St. Paul, but for Minnesota. You know, that it's in a neighborhood, in a development site that, you know, people had always been looking at stuff to do there, and I think we got something that's going to make a difference. This Lynx thing is really fun. You know, Target Center is going to be under construction, and the great Ted Johnson, who works for the T-Wolves, who's also a extraordinary, I use the word extraordinary a lot because these people are. It's hard to say another word. I mean, Ted's an extraordinary guy, and he's been a great partner of serving our troops. And him and Todd Hurley from the city and myself and some other great people really just thought this would be great for St. Paul. And because of that renovation in Minneapolis, we're going to have this team, and we're going to be able to hopefully show them what St. Paul can do. Something just really awesome about the Lynx is that we're going to have about 500 free tickets to every game to provide to young people in St. Paul. So, I mean, we're going to be working with and Visit St. Paul, of which I'm on the board of Visit St. Paul. We're going to be working with St. Paul Parks to really reach out to community centers, community organizations, nonprofits. I was at the Hallie Q. Brown Center the other day, and was going through my mind, it's like, I'm going to get these kids to these basketball games. We're going to find a way to get them down there. We're going to find a way to get them a bucket of popcorn and a soda, and give them a real experience to see these basketball players that are role models. I mean, I had a great chance to chat with Lindsay Whalen the other day, and she's a role model for young people. When they win games, they bring kids out in the court and they dance. I mean, it's going to be something. And what I'm hoping, Patrick, you know, there are challenges in our communities too, things that we are hearing about and seeing that are very troubling. And I'm hoping that the whole of St. Paul can be involved. You know, you can't build a soccer stadium and just fill it up with, you know, people having beers or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with having beers, but we need to reach out to communities. You know, we need to bridge divides, and there's a lot of ways to do it. But I mean, there's going to be jobs in these things. There's going to be leadership opportunities. There's going to be community events, and bridging these divides that we read about so much and that are so troubling to the fabric of our community. So not St. Paul and so not Minnesota. We have to have these things to really bridge some divides, and you know, I'm looking forward to see if we can lead on that. This thing with the Lynx is really fun because I think we're going to bring some kids down there that can really get something out of it. So I'm excited for that.
Now, you have been involved in politics for many, many years. Any new political aspirations?
Well, we're always talking about it. You know, I did serve 12 years in the city council in St. Paul. I enjoyed making a difference, and you know, Laura and I are taking a look at the mayor's race this time, and so we might give that a shot. My good friend Chris Coleman, I believe, is not running, and so yeah, I'm definitely taking a look at it. You know, it's a family thing for us. You know, it is about families, not just my family,
Sure.
but everybody's family. So.
Big decision with 4 young kids.
Yeah.
Very
for
active.
Sure. Yeah, they're very active. You know, it's been really fun. You know, really fun.
Now, as we record this, the Republican National Convention just wrapped up last night, and the Democratic Convention starts next week. What are your thoughts about this, what's been a very atypical political season thus far?
Well, you know, I'm obviously I'm a supporter of Hillary Clinton. I think she's an extraordinary opportunity for America, extraordinarily qualified, and really brings, you know, a skill set that's just ready for action. You know, there's no learning curve there. I mean, this person is ready for action. Unfortunately, there's just so much hatred on the other side, and you can't govern by hatred. You know, and just operationalizing the hatred that's there is just not right for America, not right for our communities. And you know, you want people. Patrick, I always just go back to this St. Paul thing. You know, St. Paul is a community that is it's family because we take care of each other. We are family. You don't have to be related to someone in the Summit University neighborhood or in Frogtown or in Highland. We just look out for each other. That's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. And unfortunately, the political discourse in America right now is about exactly the opposite. And you know, I'm hoping we can get past it. You know, I really am, because we all have looking out for kids. Yeah. We're looking out for other people's kids, and we're looking out for the future. And we'll see what happens.
Mr. Harris, it's been a real pleasure to have you on Access to Democracy. It's always great to spend some time with you, and thank you for what you do in the community. It means a great deal.
Thank you,
so
Patrick.
much.
Truly.
This has been Access.